Hello, and welcome back to the No Filter, Just Faith podcast. I'm so excited to once again have my two friends, Erika and Delaney, back on the pod, back by popular demand. It's always lovely to have you guys. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we're happy to be here again. Yeah. Just can't get rid of us.
I know, they won't. Never. Okay, so today we are not really having an interview, more of just a conversation about well, this is all a part of a series about marriage as a vocation, right? Like any other vocation in the Catholic Church, priesthood, religious life, marriage is considered a calling from God that invites us into growing closer to Jesus and growing in holiness. And so when we know that that's our vocation, there's different phases that you'll go through, and one of those is when you're waiting to meet somebody. And so I think that that's a season that a lot of people find themselves in. And so I think the goal of our conversation today is to just share encouragement to anybody who feels like maybe stuck in that season. I think it often gets called a season of waiting. Mm-hmm. But
let's debunk that right now.
We are here to debunk that. So Erika, maybe talk about why you think singleness isn't a season of waiting.
Yeah, I think that when people say that, the image that comes up in my mind is that you're just sitting around and you're doing nothing and you're just sitting in a chair looking out the window like a Disney princess being like, where's my prince? But like, it is an active season of just living life to the fullest. And just some examples that I can think of that come to mind. I call it a growing season, but I don't want to discredit once you find your significant other that you stop growing. Right? We're always on a continual path of growth in our faith and in our lives. But I think that this time that God specifically gifts us is so precious in the sense that we have no other obligations right now. We don't have, a husband that we also are like, worrying about or ministering with. We don't have kids running around that we're taking care of. We literally have so much time to pour into whatever aspect it is of our lives that we want to reach for getting more fulfilled. So whether that's hobbies, taking up running, taking up voice lessons or a pottery class, what have you, or whether it's, journeying on your faith and taking more time to be available for volunteering at church or, leading a Bible study or stepping up to be a leader in Alpha or whatever. This is the season where God gifts us the opportunity to just keep growing and becoming that person that we are meant to be when we are in that next season of life, whenever that happens.
Right.
It is not stagnant.
Right. Yeah, I love that. It's like such a good perspective to think about being single as an opportunity to, one, get to know yourself better.
Yeah.
Two, get to know Jesus better, which is something that we are called to do throughout every season of life, not just singleness, but it also isn't something that needs to wait till you meet your spouse to like then get serious about your faith.
Yeah.
So I think that's so good to say, no, this is a season where you're choosing to learn more about yourself, learn more about your relationship with God. Delaney, do you have what would you add to that?
I feel like as I was listening and kind of reflecting on, sadly, my years of singlehood.
Same here.
There's been, it's a roller coaster. There's ups and downs, but I think in recent years, I've really heard God just like calling me to be like, I just want to spend more time with you. And we have this time. So like, do it, Delaney. And instead of feeling this, I don't know, like my life is in a deficit, like trying to flip the script and say like, I actually live such an abundant life and God has given me so many great people in my life and blessings and things that I can go out and do. And I think just to really like lean into that. And I think too, it's really easy in a season of singleness to look at yourself like you're less than, or other people have it all figured out, or you're not worthy of love or capable or whatever it is. And I think it's, you can definitely start to idolize marriage and relationships very quickly, right?
Definitely.
Like you can start to be like, this is it. That's what's going to make me happy. And I'm not going to be happy till I get it. Yeah. And that's a really dangerous path, I think, to go on. And Erika, we talked about this all the time of just how easy the enemy can get in during your season of singleness. Like that he creeps in and he can be real successful of the words that he's planting in your head. And so to actively, like I said, chase after God in this time and just really focus on your relationship with him is really just actually such a gift.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's big. You mentioned like how there's a temptation to idolize romance because it's kind of being thrown at us all the time. I mean, you see it all over social media. People have relationships that look perfect. You see it on TV and movies, whatever. And I think like it's really easy to get in a mindset where you're just like, oh no, this is like what I need. Like this will make me complete. But I think for me, like I definitely went through a period of that being my attitude. And then the shift which was so freeing, is when you realize, no, the only thing that makes us whole is our relationship with Jesus.
Totally.
And once you make that shift, you realize you have more of a clear mind to approach dating and what you're looking for and things like that. But if you're just idolizing the end goal being a relationship, then it's like, well, if you find a relationship, then it's going to quickly disappoint you because you're realizing that you're not made whole in that.
Right, because you're almost like idolizing whoever that person would be that you find rather than putting God first. And then that person will always disappoint you no matter what.
Yeah,
like
that's
if you're
so much to put on them.
Yeah. Well, and like depending on where your relationship is with Jesus, I also feel like that's going to be dependent on who you're going after. So like if you're not right with God, or if you're not feeling secure, like you can think to like maybe people that you've dated that weren't good for you, and now when you're really praying about it and discerning like this truly vocation of marriage, of who's this person that I want to spend the rest of my life, and who's this person that I'm going to walk alongside with Jesus. Like he's going to be in that relationship. And so I think that's really important too, of knowing it's going to affect who you attract to and who you want to attract, more importantly, you know?
Yeah. There's definitely seasons of my life where when I've been further away from God and I, give into what the enemy says, that I've, ended up being in relationship with people who were not right for me, and I would try forcing it. And then it's like, that has happened enough times where like God also puts you in patterns until you realize that like you keep doing the same thing over and over again for a reason. And once you learn and grow and heal from that, you're like, wow, I never want to experience that again. And it takes you to another level of like, okay, this is what I actually really will stand on business and look for in a relationship moving forward. So
yeah, I think it's so good to like even just talk about like this stuff with friends and with your people, because it's like when you want to get married, that is a calling that's just inviting you to grow in holiness. And so we shouldn't be waiting for marriage to grow in holiness. You should be growing in virtue while you're single, growing in relationship with Jesus, making sure that when you do meet someone, you are the person that you'd want to be in a marriage with, or something that really, is who you're proud to be, and that you would want to like enter into that relationship with as well.
Yeah, totally. I think that there's definitely some steps that you can take where you are continuing to grow in that holiness. And I would say what's helped me is just surrounding myself with more God-centered couples in my life and kind of seeking them for advice.
I think, what we were talking about earlier about different vocations, and like when you're going to be a priest or you're going to go into the religious life, you start to prepare, or you go to the seminary. They're working towards something. And I think too, that's what we're doing in our singleness too. And it doesn't have to be a wasted season, or to your point, a season where you're looking out the window like a Disney princess just waiting for Prince Charming to knock on the door. Like, first of all, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And second of all, that's not bettering you or your relationship with God.
And nuns and priests are active in their like journey towards, their priesthood and nunhood. Wow. We are not experts in this, but we're here.
So I think that obviously there's times where you can get on social media and maybe compare yourself and feel sad or something, that maybe this singleness is a really hard season. But I think focusing on the positive, what we've talked about, is always the best way to do it. And there's so much more positives than negatives. And so I know that, like, Delaney, I love
my 30 before 30
Yes,
list.
I think this is so fun. Can you?
I actually stole it from the Bachelor, Joey, blanking his last name from.
Oh yeah.
I saw it on Instagram, like this 30 before 30 list, and I was like, this looks kind of fun. And I don't know why our society, like, we all freak out about turning 30. Like, what is the difference between 29 and 30? But for some reason, you start to like panic. And I'll admit that was me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm turning 30. Like, what is my life? And so I came up with this just like really fun. I did it with my parents in January and my family. And I was just like, what are some fun things that you guys think I should do this year? And some of them have been as small as like try a new recipe or a new restaurant. And then some of them are like travel to a new country or, go bowling. I haven't done that in so long, but just like fun things to not look at my life as like sad or depressing just because everyone else is dating or getting married or having babies and I'm necessarily not. That doesn't mean my life is in a deficit. In fact, like I said, there's so much of abundance to be had and so much fun that you can have when you're single too. And like hanging out with your girlfriends, like you don't get that time back. I really like a lot of my married friends, and this isn't a knock to like when you do get married, but like obviously your time is less your own, put it that way, or you're with your husband or you're with your kids or you've now left the city or whatever. And again, a lot of my friends face that, and they always say like, I would love to get to go out to dinner tonight or have a glass of wine and watch a show that with my friends, and they don't necessarily get to do that. So I think just the mindset shift of the things I get to do versus like I don't have X, Y, and Z.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think it's like just the Christian mindset of life is that no matter what you find yourself in, that God is always working in that season for the good.
Yeah.
And so just like keeping that front and center. And then I'd also say like, I'm dating someone now, but when I was single, I really was praying for my future person that I would meet. And so I think that's a huge part of this season is just being open with God and, praying for the person that God has for you and praying that they're growing in holiness as well.
I think that's such a big one that we often forget is like you can be saying like, Lord, please, I have this in my heart. I really want to find someone, but that you're not actually praying like for that person. And I used to do that a lot when I was in like high school and early college. And sometimes I don't necessarily do that. And I think that's a good reminder of like praying for like a true man of God and someone who's going to lead me in our relationship and the qualities that I'm looking for, that like they may not be there right now and they may be needing my prayers, and to like really spend that time asking God for that.
I used to think that like praying for my future spouse sounded so silly because I was like thinking there's some imaginary person and like, do they even exist? But again, that's just like a lie from the enemy. And I've seen the power of prayer in action and seen my own prayers get answered. So why would I not think that God can't deliver on this form of prayer too? And just like changing that mindset shift to say, like actually being like, hey guy, I don't know, like I'm praying that you're having a great day and like whatever, and start just like word vomiting about your day. It's just like in this prayer, it's always helpful when I go on like walks and stuff. That's when I find myself doing it now. But it's interesting because I know that will bear fruit at some point. And again, it's just that continual trust that God has this perfectly timed out, and when we look back on it when it actually happens, we'll laugh at all the disappointments and setbacks we've had along the way. So just stay strong.
That's
ladies.
so good.
Trusting God's timing is a big one. Timelines I feel like everyone talks about nowadays too, and every other day I open my mailbox and it's a wedding shower, wedding invite, baby shower, and like you feel.
I have 3 friends that are in a friend group together that are all pregnant at the same time right now.
I'm leaving for a wedding this weekend, and I'm thrilled. Like I am. There is so much joy that I have experienced with my friends who have found the person that they're gonna have, or have like struggled to get pregnant and gotten pregnant, and it's like just so much happiness.
Yes.
But I also feel like it's okay to say, like, in that moment, you also feel like a pang of like, gosh, will this ever happen for me? And I think that both those things can be true. They don't have to be like an either, or it can be an and. Like you can feel both feelings at once. And I think that that's okay. And I think you have to remind yourself as a single person, and remind your single friends, like, you can be happy and you can also like feel a little sadness. And I know, like, as I continue to look back, like particularly as I end this decade, of like how much God has protected me and how much I've looked back and been like, I am so glad that didn't work out. And I was ready to jump into this or whatever. And I also think too, like, COVID happened like in my early to mid 20s. And so that is like almost a critical time of like dating and exploring and getting out there. And so in some ways I look back, I'm like, did I miss that? Am I stunted? And I'm like, no. Because God's timing is perfect. And I love what you said of like, I always picture myself. And a lot of times I picture this when I'm like going up for communion of like one day when I'm like walking down the aisle to my husband, like I will just cry tears of joy knowing like this is an answered prayer and a fulfilled promise from God. Like it will happen. And I think, again, switching the mindset of like, what if it happens? When will it happen? It's just like, it will. And you just have to trust God on that journey.
And I kind of want to jump off that too. Just like keeping an open mind when it comes to the people that you interact with on a daily basis. You never know who God's going to put in your life. And just like, don't put God in a box. You might have like some idea in your head that you think this person is going to be like 6'5", blue eyes, finance guy, whatever that song was. Yeah. But like, he might bring someone who is amazing in your life that like is gonna surprise you, that you end up liking. And I think that God likes to surprise us in that way. I know he kind of surprised you in that way by bringing Jack, and he's in the community here at St. Clement. So don't put God in a box. Like, that's my little 2
this
cents.
Priest I was talking to recently, we were talking about like just seasons of change and like wanting to make changes in your life. And he gave really good advice. He was like, you just sometimes have to get out of the way, get out of the Holy Spirit's way,
get out
and
of
just
your own way.
Let it happen. And to your point, listen, like, when you start, like, even though I just said get out of the way, but I also think when you start looking for like the goodness and the signs too, I do think you will find it, instead of forcing it all the time too.
I have therapy later, but this seems like it's been doing the trick. So
Delaney, I like love what you're saying, because I think sometimes people might like see their friends and almost feel guilty that they feel sad sort of thing. But it's like, it's okay to feel both. And I would also say like, if deleting social media sometimes is a good break for you, like if you find yourself like not spiraling, but if you find that that's not bringing you joy or making you distracted from all of the, amazing things that are in your life, then take a break. Like there's no, your friends understand what you're going through and that sort of things. And so like, I love that it's just about being patient with yourself and not letting those negative voices in your head. I love that.
Totally. And like we said with my list or whatever, but finding things that really fuel you and make you happy. Like I love to train for like marathons or triathlons, and having something really healthy and positive to focus on that you're striving towards is always good too. And again, this goes back to just like some of the time that you have to be devoting to like an hour and a half run that maybe you wouldn't. And like you get to do a lot of these things, and just continuing to get out of your comfort zone too.
Yeah,
totally.
And to that point, I feel like people are really figuring this out now, actually, because you're seeing like community become a central point in all parts of culture. Like faith, I mean, faith communities are booming. I'm not solely because people are looking for significant others, I hope. But like meeting people in spaces where you're doing something that you love, where you share values and passions, like, come on, run clubs.
Like
run with everybody's
Christ,
running.
everyone.
But like, I mean, I do think dating in community is such an awesome thing to do, because it's like you are showing up to places where you know that you have shared values, things
and where you would
common.
already be showing up.
Yes,
you're not
right.
forcing it either. You
right.
know?
And so I think that it's like when you are, becoming more whole becoming yourself, you will find yourself in places where other people who are on the same journey of becoming who they are through Christ, like just you'll find them. And so I think that people are figuring that out because we're just seeing, you know, lots of community focused things pop up. And I think that's a great place to meet people.
I think one of the quotes that comes up in my head is like, be so rooted in Christ that like the guy that or girl that, you know, is for you is also going to have to find Christ before they find you.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's so good. I feel like I'm just assuming most people who watch this episode will be girls, but
What says that?
But if there's single guys out there, I think it literally everything that we've said applies as well.
I agree.
Totally.
When any person is focusing on their relationship with Jesus, becoming more whole through that, then the pathway to finding your spouse becomes a whole lot clearer and less. It's weighs on you less because you know where your worth is. You know your identity is rooted in Christ.
And that's the most important thing that no one can ever take from you.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, hopefully people are feeling encouraged. I am. Yeah, you guys are the best. Thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably. And if they want to drop their cell phone numbers, so I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just two bachelorettes over here.
The St. Clement Parish DMs are about to pop off.
Yeah, people have said that we need to do a speed dating thing, but I'm gonna let St. Alphonsus does one. They do it. Check it out.
Hey, Old St. Pat's did too, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Love it.
There you go.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll talk to you soon.